Hi, welcome to the masking demo. This is something that most people want to learn about in Photoshop. Basically, masking is you're taking one thing from one place and putting it into another. This is how I change backgrounds in photographs. This is how you get the basics to make all the memes that are so popular. And we're going to learn a little bit about this. So these images I downloaded off the internet, and once I get into Photoshop, I'm going to check their size. So image size, they're both, this one's 300 dpi, about 5 by 4. Image size is about 12.6 and 8.99, 300 dpi. Okay, so let's say that I have a client who needs this to be 12 by 8. And this is why I'm stating this, because sometimes you'll get files and they're an odd size, width and height. You may have requirements or minimums, just like this class. So you want to make sure you're meeting at least a minimum. So I know 12.6 and 8.997 is a very odd size, so I'm just going to round it out 12 by 8. But I am not going to make my adjustments here. This is my original file. I never want to touch my original files. So I'm going to create a new document. Go to File, New. And it'll take a minute to think about if it actually wants to do that. And now I'll take my drop down from pixels to inches to 12 width and height 8. That's 300 dpi. And click OK. So I want to put this into here. So you can do a select all, copy and paste. But what I like to do is duplicate layers. And this is if I made adjustments, if I have adjustment layers, I can select as many layers as I want. So I'm going to select duplicate layer on the layer that I want to put into something else. So I can rename it here. I can rename it Snowy. And the document is the destination. I haven't named this file, so it's Untitled 1. And click OK. And you know what? I'm going to go to, now it's in my new document. I'm going to go to File, Save As. Masking Demo 02. I'm going to give it a name, and I'm going to hit Command S many times so I save my progress. We know Photoshop will crash on us. But I have my background there, snowy, and then this, and I'm actually just going to toss that. And I can scale it out to think about maybe, because I'm cropping a little, how I want my crop to go. And I like this. So I have these cactuses that I'm going to put in the other one. So following the same method, layer, duplicate layer, masking demo, click OK. And it's actually a little bit smaller. I cannot make this bigger, but this may be too big for what I want it to be, so that's fine. I would rather work bigger. So how do I remove parts of the background? Now, our mind would typically go, well, eraser tool, let's just erase it. That's destructive editing, and we don't want to do it. So we're looking at layer masks. Layer masks are non-destructive, so I can always go back and fix something that I don't like. So one popular way is make sure your layers, select in your layer panel and hit the layer mask button. So it is this little white rectangle with a circle in the center. If I hover over it, it says add layer mask. If I click on it, you notice my layer has changed. I'm going to rename my layer to cactus. And I have a thumbnail, and I'm selected on with this bounding box, and then I'm selected on this white part. And this white part kind of works as anything that's white shows, anything that's black hides. So white reveals, black conceals. So if I go with my brush tool, keyboard B, make my brush a little bit bigger. If I'm using black, and if I want to default my colors, you can do D to default your colors, X to switch them back and forth. And see, I went a little crazy. but you can just kind of add paint or add black to anything in this mask, and it hides part of your background. And what's great is, let's say I made a mistake. So instead of doing history or going back, I can just switch to white and paint it back in. Pretty simple. This could be very painstaking. This is just one of the many methods. I usually would zoom in. And you see there's all these little edges. And how do we get them? So Photoshop has made a program that's pretty simple called Refine Edge, Select, and Mask. So if you follow the PDF, we're going to pull up our quick selection tool, which might be nested under your Magic Wand tool. So this is kind of like a brush tool and a selection tool. And the selection tool helps you create boundaries. And it kind of links up to what's nearby. Now it may get something that you don't want. It's kind of hard to control. If you have a better way to control this besides the brush size, let me know. And I did the brush plus, that means it's adding. So it added some stuff I didn't want, and that's fine, because we can always take that off. So with my selection, I had these marching ants. I'm going to hit select and mask, and it's going to open this new program up. And this has been changed within the many versions of CC. So the first thing is, this is this little window. It's a program within a program. And you can see mine has a red background for what I'm trying to avoid. I can change my view mode to onion skin, marching ants, overlay, on black, on white, black and white, on layers. I usually do overlay, and you can actually change the color if red is not contrasting enough. So I can kind of see a little bit of my background and see what I want. And you have something over here, so I can make a selection within a selection. It's a polygonal, and it'll add things or subtract. And it's very like edgy. Your hand tool is how you move around, zoom. This is your brush tool. So we want to remove. And this is an easy way to get kind of those bigger chunks. You have control. Let's zoom in. And I kind of do this as kind of just big overarching around. Try to get as close as I can, but it's not a huge deal if I don't get that close. I kind of think of this as like when you're cutting out like something in paper, and I like to do a big cut, and then I like to do smaller cuts to really kind of get in, refine my details slower in. So I don't have to worry about the big changes. I just need to worry about the little changes. And I'm just kind of going by, going close. If I make a mistake, I can always go back. Again, you can use your left and right brackets to zoom in and out. All right, so we got some closeness going. And this may not be the best image. In the PDF, I did like a fox, so they had lots of fur. But we want to get these close details. So we're going to click this refine edge, which looks like a hair wispy in the paintbrush. And if you brush areas, what it does is it looks at what's nearby, and it will make selection based on the contrast. So we'll try to find those wispies for you, or little sharp cactus points. And at any point, if I'm curious, I can just go on layers and see what's kind of going. So I may want to clean that up a little more, or I could still kind of go pretty general and then clean it up later. Again, this isn't perfect, but it's a nice kind of method. You can see it's a little loose. And the thing with masking is if you're really good at it, it could be very lucrative. People will actually outsource masking because it can get so tedious. Think of a lot of advertisements you see, and there's often something cut out from the background. See this right here? We're actually going to click this negative and just kind of say, hey, we kind of want those details. It's not as foolproof doing the negative, so I might go actually to the brush, add, and go back to here. And what you can do, there's some other things. So there's opacity. This is just for your view. Your radius for the edge detecting. So it will kind of edge the refinement, global refinement. So if you want kind of a smoother mask, a more feathered contrast, different things you can definitely look around and definitely play around with. Try to figure out what works best with you. I mean, this can be very tedious, and I'm just kind of quickly just kind of covering what I can. And there's so much different things you can do with selecting and masking. So don't think like, oh, these are the only two methods. Like, no, there's so many different ways to really explore, select, and mask. There's different things that we're not going to get quite into. We're just going to get beginner crash course a little bit, and to really expose you to kind of how to merge things together, which is what so many people want to learn how to do. And it takes a lot of practice. I mean, I'm just trying to quickly get this done. See, the reason why I wanted to make those big cuts earlier, so I can just zoom in and just focus on these edges. All right, well, I think this is close to what I need it to be. So I'm going to actually, if you may need to scroll down, but if you go to output settings, this is how it's going to output to it. If it does a selection, might be much, but I'm going to do output to layer mask, and it's just, if I click OK, it masks it out for us. And even through here, I might, see this, I might take my brush tool and clean things up. Now, something on a white background, I may want to actually do a fill of a different background just to see some more contrast. Maybe I smooth some things out or add some nice hardness, but again, this is where you would kind of do more refined details afterward. See this, and I'm just kind of quickly going over. So this is where it is. So I'm going to try to place this to where I want it to be. I'm going to be in this corner. Can't make it bigger, so I'm going to do a Command T. I might make it smaller. I might put it between those two posts. So scale it to how it's going to fit. It's actually a little bit more advanced kind of warping, but I'm trying to make it fit this little area. And you know what? I don't like. I would do puppet warp. Oh no. I'm trying to think. I don't do a lot of warping. There we go. So. Okay. So it's trying to make it kind of fit there. It's kind of flat. Again, we'll look about perspective, but it doesn't really quite fit because it's kind of this green thing and this white and black thing. So I want to play around quickly with adjustment layers. If you don't have those open, go to window adjustments. These are just sort of ways to adjust things non-destructively. There's the PDF included. I might pull up some hue and saturation to desaturate it. And it's overall pretty, and that's overworking overall. I'm just kind of looking, trying to match this to the scene. I'm going to do a clipping mask. It's going to clip this detail to the layer underneath. I'll hold down Alt or Option. See my cursor has an arrow pointing under, and it's only affecting this layer. And I might throw curves. There. And maybe even play around blending modes, but you can do all sorts of stuff to really play around to make something fit. And that's just using layer mask, and I just barely touch on adjustment layers. Play around adjustment layers. They do all sorts of cool things. I think you might learn so much with it. But it makes it seem like it kind of fits in the scene. So that's kind of the basics of masking. Again, there's so many different methods to approach it. I really want you to play around. Don't worry about trying to mask something for the assignment quite quick. Just try to practice downloading images off the internet and putting things that don't go together. Maybe make a meme just for practice. So have fun, practice this. If you find anything cool, share it. There's so many different ways to approach this, so don't worry about if you do a different way that I don't. Just try to be non-destructive as best as possible. And have fun.